somewhat ties in with some of our rights, and there's a lot of constitutional amendments on the ballot this time around, and I think you were particularly interested in Amendment 9, is that correct?
Yeah, before we get to that, I just wanted to say one of the reasons that I think our budget keeps going up is because of the philosophy of the people on the city council. With Republicans and Democrats, you're just going to have continuously building budgets because they believe that government is good. I mean, I understand. I've been to city council, and you have these people, and they have all these really great causes. But when you think that government solves problems, every single thing that comes through the door, you spend the money, and you think you're saving the world, but you're not. You're increasing the budget, which people will have to pay for taxes. And I'm a little bit disappointed, though, that they didn't at least take into account the political signals that the people of Jacksonville sent them. I was there at the courthouse. They had a record-breaking attendance. They've never had that many people show up to a city council meeting. They had special breakout rooms just to put people in, and they filled the lobby, and they couldn't, after that, they had to turn people away because of the fire code. And everybody almost unanimously came up and said, please don't raise the taxes, find things to cut. Some people had specific ideas. Unfortunately, a lot of people, they're not into politics, they don't know the budget, so they didn't have specific options. And the majority of the council people chose to ignore that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have everything for everybody. You can't have multiple umbrella organizations over child care or child development. There just needs to be somebody take a look at it and say, okay, what do we want to do? And let's let the voters take a look at it. Do we want to continue to have support of the performing arts? Yeah, I love the performing arts. I'm sure you do too. But should I ask the taxpayers to pay for it? I don't think so. There are certain things that, or the Equestrian Center. I know people that ride horses. I don't. I'm scared to death of them. But having said that, and I think you put your finger on it to some extent when you looked at the pension problem. Where's the committee, the blue chip committee? Of course, you want something done, you go form a committee, and then it sort of disappears. But somebody needs to look at it and say, wait a minute, we're heading ourselves into bankruptcy.
And as you mentioned, I don't think we talked about this in front of the viewers. Right now, we have a growing pension for all city employees, and basically you have a situation where it's going to grow every year. So every year, the city's either going to have to make cuts elsewhere or raise taxes or both, and that's why even our mayor, they've projected that for the next 5 years, we're going to be facing additional tax raises every year unless huge changes are made. And that's why, you know, my work with the Libertarian Party and with the concerned taxpayers, we really want our government to sit down with the public employees, unions, and representation and look if there's a way we can get away from the antiquated pension system, because unfortunately our city just doesn't seem to be able to finance it.
Yeah. And as you know, and everyone has a right to support who they wish to in an election and things like that, but so long, so many council people have fought and striven and promised in order to get the support of the Fraternal Order of Police and the Firefighters Union and, you know, those groups, because, you know, they contribute a lot and people respect their viewpoints, and they certainly could make and put up a lot of signs for you. So you're really looking at a situation of trying to look at it and say, do we need a complete audit? That's been suggested. I mean, one can read the 400-something pages that are published and be confused, and then I'm sure we would be totally confused if we then tried to read all these interactive transfers. One thing I did not know, and perhaps because it's not a final budget's been printed online, it was the proposed budget for this current upcoming fiscal year, was another one of these fact sheets. But I'm sure it's going to show the same thing. that horrible trend, $800 million more since 2003.
Well, they've only cut about $3 to $4 million from the mayor's proposal, so it's relatively unchanged.
Right, and I assume, and perhaps my assumption is incorrect, that a lot of that $800 million is because there hasn't been an 800% or humongous increase in salaries per se. There is the additional pension funding is the Greater Jacksonville Plan and other capital outlay projects which are subject to waste, and obviously, the old new courthouse.
Well, the Better Jacksonville Plan is actually funded by a half-cent tax, so they're spending above and beyond even that.
Yeah. So that's basically where we are, Phil, and I guess it's time for people to either consider joining the Libertarian Party or taking some, just don't let it be this one city council meeting back in late September every year. There should be people out there looking, and they've got the list of the people on that first exhibit we had, which is how they voted, and they can take a look and decide if they want to support somebody who raises their taxes in the face of these economic times for either current office, and a lot of these people are running for other office.
I think it's a choice, and I want to go ahead and kind of quote one of the people that was really fighting to keep the tax rate high, Michael Corrigan. He made an actual good point, and I kind of agree with him. He said, look, I've heard a lot of people say they don't want to raise their taxes raised, but he was not convinced that the voters are ready to give up services. And unfortunately, because of the leadership of our federal government and because of the whole Federal Reserve System, where people can actually get services and not pay for them in taxes because they just print the money, people have grown to expect that. And, we have to see, and I urge the voters, look, if you want your taxes low, vote for the people that are fiscally responsible, and actually when you address your city council people tell them these are services I'm ready to not have to pay for. And I believe there are services that we could get rid of that wouldn't impact the quality of life here in Jacksonville, because we really do a lot of things that are not, it's just inappropriate for government to get into things. I mean, the Jacksonville Journey, the Children's Commission, they sound good as far as what they sound like they do, but when you get into it, they're just trying to run people's lives, teach them how to be people. An equestrian center, that's not a government. The government
It's kind of preppy, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't understand that at all. All the things they get into, the fact that they subsidize the Jaguars way too much. One of the things recently that's been in the paper is when Everbank took over, there's $4 million on the table that they could have used to at least lower the amount they raised taxes, but they said, no, here you go, Jaguars. And the city council didn't put any stipulation on that, so if they go to LA tomorrow, they have their $4 million, thank you very much, taxpayers of Jacksonville.
Yeah, and it's a chance for the citizens of Jacksonville to really turn Jacksonville into sort of like a shining light for the country. Let's come up with some new ideas. Let's do some different things. I know you'd spend your time on it. I'd volunteer my time. And we need to get people that go in there and sit down with the heads of the various departments. And I know in their defense, the mayor and the city had these little workshops, but that's not enough.